Welcome back to Klepper's Corner, where the news is real, but your sanity is optional. Today's headlines are the geopolitical equivalent of a family Thanksgiving where everyone brought weapons to the table and no one brought pie. We've got Trump trying to sell missiles like they're Girl Scout cookies, ceasefire talks that move slower than your grandma's dial-up, and Syria proving once again that if there's a way to make a civil war even more complicated, someone will find it. Oh, and Japan's former emperor is back in the hospital because apparently even royalty can't escape the Monday blues. Let's dive in before someone gets fired by AutoPen. Segment 1. Trump offers Ukraine aid, but with a price tag. Today in the news, President Trump is reportedly set to announce a new military aid package for Ukraine, including Patriot missiles and sophisticated gear. But there's a twist. Trump wants Europe to pay 100% of the bill. That's right. It's like the NATO version of Venmo, except you're guilted into splitting a $500 million dinner check. This shift from we're allies to this is a Costco receipt and you're paying for the bulk-size missiles signals a major departure from traditional NATO policy. Apparently, Trump took that whole America first thing and turned it into Europe, your turn. It's diplomacy with a tip jar. Imagine if this strategy spreads. Next, we'll be seeing State Department invoices. Hi, Angela. Attached is your bill for this month's sanctions enforcement. Due upon receipt. Late fees will result in increased TikTok bans. This all makes the U.S. look less like a superpower and more like a pushy HOA president. We built the fence. Now pay your dues or we'll replace your government with one we like better. Segment 2. Russia, North Korea, and China, the evil roommate sitcom no one asked for. While Trump's billing Europe, Vladimir Putin is getting friendship bracelets from Kim Jong-un, who has offered unconditional support for Russia's invasion of Ukraine. North Korea's motto used to be, we scare everyone, but now it's basically, we stan our bestie Vlad. Meanwhile, China and Russia's foreign ministers met over dumplings and democracy-free conversation to coordinate their anti-U.S. moves. It's like watching a geopolitical version of the Legion of Doom, except everyone has nukes and no one's figured out that villainy with terrible economies is still just villainy with inflation. This trio isn't just swapping diplomatic pleasantries, they're consolidating power, forming a We Hate America club with no rules except, apparently, bring your own sanctions. Segment 3. Gaza death toll soars as ceasefire talks stall. The death toll in Gaza has surpassed 58,000. Just this weekend alone, over 200 people were killed. A missile strike on a water distribution point killed 6 children. 6. A separate market strike killed 17. This is no longer war, this is slaughter with PR. Former Israeli PMs Olmert and Lapid condemned Netanyahu's humanitarian city plan, calling it a form of ethnic cleansing. When your own former leaders are like, yeah, this looks genocidal, maybe it's time to reassess your strategy. Meanwhile, ceasefire talks in Doha have gone full Groundhog Day. The two sides can't agree on whether Hamas gets to exist or whether Israel gets to stay in Gaza. So, everything. The talks are less about compromise and more about watching a sandcastle melt during a UN photo shoot. Also, a ship named the Handala is sailing from Italy to break the Gaza blockade. Because apparently the 21st century solution to a siege is the plot of a Pirates of the Mediterranean sequel. Segment 4. Syria's sectarian powder keg. Over 89 people, including women and children, were killed in Syria's Sweda province after clashes erupted between Druze militias and Sunni Bedouins. It began with tit-for-tat kidnappings and the vegetable stand robbery. Yes, a vegetable stand. Syria's version of The Godfather starts with eggplants. The Assad regime reportedly supported one faction because, of course, they did. Assad doesn't mediate conflicts, he collects them. Then Israel stepped in and struck Syrian military tanks, allegedly to protect the Druze minority. When you're bombing your neighbor to save lives, your PR strategy starts to look like a shampoo ad. Now with more collateral damage, but sulfate-free. Israel's actions here raise serious questions. Are they border defense, humanitarian defenders, or just inserting themselves into every chaotic pot on the stove because why not? Segment 5, DOJ firings, AutoPen scandals, and Fed firing fantasies. Domestically, the Trump administration is doing what it does best, turning the executive branch into The Apprentice. Trump's people reportedly looked into firing Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Nothing calms the markets like making them wonder if the guy in charge of interest rates will get canned by lunchtime. Next week, can I fire the Dow Jones too? It's been looking at me funny. Meanwhile, nearly 10 DOJ employees who worked under Jack Smith were dismissed, along with AG Pam Bondi's ethics advisor. Because if there's one thing this White House hates, it's people who read the rules before breaking them. Oh, and the Biden auto pen scandal? Yes, apparently his chief of staff approved pardons with a robot pen. Trump says they're void because Biden didn't physically sign them. You know, like every online terms of service you've ever clicked. Next Trump argument, I never hit accept, Your Honor. Segment 6. BBC Jobs outsourced, Malaysia blocks AI chips, and the emperor needs a checkup. In media news, the BBC is considering outsourcing thousands of jobs, including their recommendation algorithms. Yes, the UK might hand over control of Downton Abbey reruns to Google. If you suddenly see ads for Bridgerton-themed crypto, you'll know why. Meanwhile, Malaysia now requires permits for AI chips coming into or out of the country. This is what happens when global tech becomes geopolitics. Today, it's AI chips. Tomorrow, it's USB drives in armored trucks. And in Japan, former Emperor Akihito has been hospitalized to adjust heart meds. He's 91, and yes, even in retirement, the emperor's heartbeat somehow remains a national indicator. His condition is serious, but stable. Basically, he's the royal version of Japan's economy. Segment 7, Srebrenica, social unrest, and tech trouble in the UK. In Bosnia, thousands gathered to mark the 30th anniversary of the Srebrenica genocide. New victims are still being buried, with some families only receiving parts of their loved ones. It's a tragic reminder that war crimes echo across generations. Meanwhile, CARE is calling out Representative Randy Fine for Islamophobic attacks. In response, the Democratic Party offered their signature response, a strongly worded shrug. In the UK, a 17-year-old pled guilty to plotting to burn down a mosque. The teen said he believed in a race war and admired Nazis. You know, typical misunderstood teen stuff like genocide cosplay. Add to that Modi's increasing shift of India toward a Hindu nationalist state, and it's like intolerance is having a global comeback tour, sponsored by algorithms, paranoia, and a total lack of accountability. Celebrate 7. Today was one of those days where everything feels like a global group project gone wrong. Syria's on fire, Gaza's bleeding, Ukraine's stuck in a NATO payment dispute, and America's government is playing HR musical chairs. Meanwhile, the BBC might become a BuzzFeed quiz, Malaysia's policing chips, and the former emperor of Japan is reminding us that heartbeats matter, literally. Stay alert, stay informed, and for the love of democracy, maybe unplug for 5 minutes. Or at least until the next missile invoice goes out.